Some stories aren't just about one person, they're about a country's secrets. This is the story of Abdullah Çatlı, a man who lived in the shadows between crime and politics. To some, he was a good guy who loved his country. To others, a killer. His life blurs the line between the government and the bad guys. Çatlı's violent death on a lonely highway showed a hidden world inside Turkey. The crash didn't just end a life, it ripped open what was really happening in the country. It showed that something called the deep state existed, where spies, politicians and gangsters worked together. His story is like a puzzle of power, loyalty, and the choices countries make. Çatlı was both a famous nationalist and a well-known criminal. His mixed-up life makes him interesting, a symbol of Turkey's messy past. Was he a patriot or a criminal? The answer depends on what you believe. His life was a clash of opposite forces, and what happened because of it still shapes Turkey today. His story is like a secret tunnel into a hidden part of power. Abdullah Çatlı's story began in Nevşehir, central Turkey, in 1956. He grew up when there was a lot of political trouble, and he quickly became interested in Turkish nationalism. Moving to Ankara, he jumped into student politics, not just talking but fighting in the streets. Çatlı joined the Grey Wolves, which was the tough youth group of the Nationalist Movement Party. He quickly became a strong leader, setting up and leading violent fights. For Çatlı, nationalism was more than just politics. It was something worth fighting for. The crazy times of the 1970s made him who he was. Violence became a tool, and being loyal to his cause was more important than following the law. Some people saw him as a protector, others as a danger. This time changed him from a small-town student into a national symbol. The lessons he learned, about power, violence and loyalty, would decide his path. Çatlı's journey into the heart of Turkish nationalism had started. He was no longer just a student, he was becoming a weapon in a bigger fight. Everything was set for what would happen next. His early life was like a tough training ground for the man he would become. By the 1980s, Çatlı was no longer just an activist, he was a key figure in the secret nationalist group. His name was connected to political violence and killings. To his followers, these were acts of war. To others, they were crimes. The police wanted him, so Çatlı went into hiding but didn't disappear. He started working with Turkish intelligence, going after enemies in other countries, especially Armenian fighters. He became a killer approved by the government, working in Europe. At the same time, he built a crime business, selling drugs using his political connections. Çatlı lived a double life. He was running from the law, he was a government helper, and he was a hero, depending on who you asked. He was a puzzle, serving the government while breaking its laws. This relationship showed how fighting enemies made all the rules disappear. The government had created a force it couldn't control. Çatlı was no longer just a grey wolf. He was the government's own shadow. His two identities showed what a desperate and secret time it was. On November 3, 1996, a Mercedes crashed near Susurluk, showing everything. Inside, a police chief, a politician, a beauty queen, and Abdullah Çatlı, dead, with a fake passport. The crash proved there were secret deals between criminals and government officials. Guns, silencers, and fake IDs were found in the wrecked car. The Susurluk scandal exploded, shaking Turkey to its core. Investigations showed a hidden group using criminals like Çatlı for illegal government operations. Killings, drug dealing, and corruption were all linked to this deep state. The public's worst fears about government corruption were proven true. The crash became a symbol of a system where the law had broken down. It showed a secret government working behind the scenes. Çatlı's death wasn't just the end of a criminal, it was the start of the country facing its problems. The country was forced to look at its darkest secrets. The questions raised by the crash still bother Turkey today. Why does Abdullah Çatlı's story still matter? He is the ultimate symbol of the Turkish deep state, a powerful group that is above the law. Çatlı was living proof that such a group existed. To nationalists, he's a hero and a martyr, honored for what he gave up. For others, he's a warning, a symbol of corruption and the dangers of too much power. His story shows how easily a government can get mixed up with crime. Çatlı's legacy is a dark stain and a warning story. His life remains a mystery, a maze of secrets and shadows. He makes us ask, what is fair? What does it mean to love your country? What deals are made in our name? Like a distant star, the impact of his life still reaches us. Çatlı is a ghost from the past, haunting the present. Sometimes the most important truths are buried deepest.